The Shark Deck.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. After a relatively quiet period, we should start seeing Meghan Markle again. One event is this week. Gloria Steinem is also due to give Meghan a Miss Foundation Women in Vision Award during the annual gala at Siegfried Ballroom in New York on Tuesday. 3 days later, it is her 5th anniversary of her marriage to Harry. The following week, the Gracie's Gala is due to take place at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in Beverly Hills on May 23rd. Meghan was named a Digital Media National winner for her Spotify podcast, Archetypes, for which Spotify reportedly paid $25 million. PR expert Eric Schiffer told Newsweek, the king further elevated himself and also tied himself to the dreamlike fantasy elements of monarchy in a way that will only benefit him as he moves forward. It was a smooth transition, and one where he has a way about him that is always prepared and ready, and his popularity will increase in America. His son Harry was not served by it in full. On the positive side, he showed loyalty, which he needed to shore up given Spare and how that hurt his brand. But it also showed the pecking order and how he's been relegated to the outhouse in terms of how the crown views him. It must be difficult on a personal level, and from a brand perspective, it hurts the cachet. I think this helps to stabilize what was a spiraling effect to Harry's reputation after Spare, and Meghan, I think, was served by not showing. It certainly didn't damage her. I think you're going to see them back to the basics now and further focus on what assisted them the best, which was to put their efforts towards helping others and the causes that young people believe in. Schiffer feels Meghan's upcoming events will help her. Among audiences, certainly pro-feminist audiences, that'll help her brand, but most are not going to pay attention to that. The podcast awards are largely focused on the industry. I think they're trying to bring some stardust perhaps to the event, but the average American couldn't care less about either. Cara Kennedy had some thoughts about Meghan. In The Spectator, Kennedy writes, maybe it was always going to be this way. After being a briefcase girl, an actress, a D-list celebrity, and blowing it as a real-life royal, perhaps the only natural next step for Meghan Markle was to become an influencer. Look at Fergie, once married to Prince Andrew. Now the Duchess of York makes her living writing romance novels, selling jam, and giving exclusive interviews to any tabloid that'll buy her lunch. The truth is that there is no glamour in being an ex-something. Look at the washed-up ex-wives and girlfriends of sports stars, selling herbal tea on Instagram for a few bucks and being paid to show up at crappy provincial nightclubs filled with teenagers. It's harder to be fussy when you need to pay the bills. This, though, was not the future that Meghan expected when she and Harry decided to exile themselves to Los Angeles. She was to trade in her royal life to become the next Amal Clooney, spending her days fighting for women's rights as a glamorous philanthropist attending the most exclusive Hollywood events. But it turns out that telling fibs and constantly scheming leaves you pretty low down on the LA thought leader come it girl list. Who knew? But does Meghan's coronation snub and the low-key approach to her husband's book mean she is retreating from the limelight for good? What do you think? It looks like Markle's time out will soon be over as she gears up for a big return to public life. It was revealed that the Duchess had signed up with the powerhouse agency WME that will focus on building Meghan's global enterprise. Her team at the agency will include Power Agent turned Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel, Brad Slater, the rep and brand architect within the agency for Dwayne Johnson, and Serena Williams' agent Jill Smoller. Welcome to the Meganaissance. As the best-selling royal author Robert Hobson told me, it can only be a good thing that Meghan is looking to revamp her public image, but it'll mean actually listening to what her PR team tell her for once. So how do the rest of the royals feel about this potential comeback? Apprehensive, to say the least. According to my sources, the Queen saw through Meghan Markle and remarked that she was evil during a drinks reception at a dinner the late monarch hosted at Balmoral in August last year. Everybody's eyebrows hit the ceiling, the source claimed. It was out of character for the Queen to use such a word as evil to describe Meghan, but she saw straight through her. It was a startling sentence to hear from the most forgiving woman on earth. At the drinks before the dinner, a small group were talking to the monarch, and she explained that Harry meeting Meghan had become a complete catastrophe and described her as evil. By this point, we all knew the Queen's health was in decline and she had months left. She seemed regretful about how things had panned out. Palace Intrigue will be right back.
Trying to grab all the groceries in one trip? Oof, not how you would have done that. You know sometimes less is more. Like when you drive less and save with the USAA annual mileage discount. USAA. Get a quote today.
I'm Nina Hobson, ex-police detective from the UK.
I've worked on every crime mentionable, from murder to kidnap to stalking to fraud. When I left the force, I launched my own investigations firm that soon became a global operation. I'm also a single mother of two, to two members of my team, my son Harrison and daughter Amy. Every week, we'll be getting first-hand accounts from psychological experts, operatives, former criminals, actual victims of the crimes that we investigate, and of course, my very own flesh and blood. From Storic Media, you're listening to Codename Siren, a true crime podcast. Available on YouTube and all major podcast platforms.
Royal author Tom Bower told TV's Dan Wooten, "I think Harry went back pretty angry. What really worries me is that the royal family is now a moving target, a soft touch. Charles showed that he won't answer back, so whatever is thrown at him, he's just going to take it now. This is a real danger now. Harry expects in his naive, stupid way to think that somehow it's all going to fall his way," he said. On the way back across the Atlantic, he'll have realized it hasn't gone his way and think, what can I do to make life really even more difficult and embarrass them? I think he will take comfort, as will, unfortunately, Meghan, from those who say the balcony was too white. They will take comfort that somehow they're above throwing in the racist, he started before being cut off by Wooten, who said, well, ITV said it was terribly white. And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or your favourite app of choice. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue. Good times.